A good friend of mine had suggested this as a side project, essentially. So I figured, what would I have to lose? So we find ourselves here at the AskReddit, posted by Utavarish 11 years ago. Reddit, tell me a short story in less than 50 words. Sorted by the best. It was only after sitting down to my coffee, watching a bicyclist ride by the window, that I realized I was never in love with her, but only at her. Suddenly, the ring in my pocket felt much heavier. And then the robots came. After staring into her eyes for some time, I stand up with a sigh. I mutter, "I'm sorry, Rose." And I walk towards the door as I feel her eyes bore into my back. I hear a sob escape her as the bell attached the door chimes. I don't look back. And suddenly, a robot ninja jumps out of the bushes and tells me if we don't rescue the president from evil robot dinosaurs, the entire planet will explode. Next time on Doctor Who. Really? Quick, off to Mount Doom. There was once a man from Peru who dreamed he was eating his shoe. He awoke with a fright in the middle of the night to find that he and his family had been abducted by drug runners. Oh, I'm going to hell for that one. Alright. Really. Once there was an ugly barnacle. He was so ugly that everyone died. The end. That didn't help at all. Once upon a time, they lived happily ever after. I actually really like this one, because it can be much more philosophical than I'm guessing most people consider. Once upon a time, they, the people who came before, lived happily ever after, implying that we now do not. The whole thing simply pleases me. Have an upvote. Two people meet and fall in love. One day, they fall out of love because of a mistake one of them made in their past. Thankfully, a series of fortunate and touching events involving people they met while dating occur that lead to the rekindling of their passion. Roll credits. Starring Adam Sandler and Reese Witherspoon. I was thinking more Hugh Grant. The original poster stated less than 50. You used 50 exactly. Upvote for being ballsy. He drank his coffee black these days. It was harsh and mysterious, he said. It gave off that serial killer vibe, he said. He liked people to think of him that way now. The last time I saw him, he was a milk and 3 sugar guy. A lot can change in 3 years. Silence. Around them, the world exploded. That'll show them, she said. Show who? Silence. I turned 20 today. Felt the same as yesterday. And so, life goes on. William Wilson saw his double in the street and went after him to kill him. And once he had, he realized he'd killed himself and his double was still alive. You're all suckers. You're doing this person's homework. Out of all the boys the girl chose the one who didn't treat her like a China doll, a pet, or a princess, but as a human being. And while the rest of the world burned, they happily lived, laughed, and loved. Every Thursday, the old man hopped on the 5:20 bus with a bouquet of brightly colored flowers. Everyone knew him by name, and he would say, "I'm going to see my wife." He gets off at the next stop, gives her her flowers, and sheds a tear. The cemetery. Knock, knock, knock. Third joint of the night. The paranoia sets in. Who called them? Knock, knock, knock. Fuck. Knock, knock, knock. He hides a stash. That bitch in 7B, it must be. Knock, knock, knock. The pizza man cometh. Tovarish didn't realize that some keys don't just open doors. They open prisons. Cells meant to stay locked and hidden from view of the world. The realization only came to him after the stench from inside hit his nostrils, and the high rumbling of a scream pierced the musky air. World War III wiped out civilization. Colonies on Mars still survived, and formed new allegiances to send expeditions back to Earth. War machines of the day are anthropomorphic vehicles. But to the blasted survivors of nuclear war, these walking machines that spit death must seem like gods from the sky. Or how Red Faction should have ended. Instead of crazy bug aliens brought forth by an apocalyptic madman. Yeah, I agree. One time, my Aunt Maybelline, kinda like the makeup, but not because my aunt isn't rich. She has some money, but my uncle took a lot of it to reno with this other woman, who was also named Maybelline, but spelled like Maybelline. Okay. There is a gun under your pillow? He grinned at her naked form as she reclined and held it in fascination. My wife wants to kill me, he said. You should hire me to kill her. Who would hire a girl like you? She thumbed the safety. Your wife. Oh, that's good. Ooh, when at last it happened. One couldn't be 100% certain that anything had happened at all. Then the flash came, the blinding flash that blew apart buildings, set fire to schoolyards, and turned the faces of the kindly old Johnson family down the street into ash. War had arrived. Once upon a time, there was a lovely little sausage called Baldric, and it lived happily ever after. Hooray! There's never any Blackadder on Reddit. The sound of crashing waves were calming as I leaned back into my beach chair, carefully balancing my rum and coke on the arm. I kicked off my sandals, dug my toes into the white sand, and felt the warmth provide relief to my sore and well-used feet. I took a sip of my drink and let out a deep sigh of relief. This is paradise. In the beginning, the universe was infinitely tiny, and infinitely dense. Then the universe exploded, flinging itself out into the nothingness. As the energy expanded and cooled, it became matter, which formed galaxies and planets. On one of those rocks, life emerged, and that is the story of us. His heart thudded like a drum. He knew he was cloaked, but he could feel himself being watched. A minute passed. Nothing. Just in his mind, then, he uncloaked. Suddenly, hot breath on his neck. You're not the only one with cloaking technology. Oh, that is good. I have a cat. It doesn't care if I'm asleep when it's hungry. It goes meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. I am now awake, so I feed it. The end. There was once a tiger-striped cat. This cat died 1,000,000 deaths, revived and lived 1,000,000 lives. And he was owned by various people who didn't really care for. The cat wasn't afraid to die. Then one day the cat became a stray cat, which meant he was free. He met a white female cat, and the two of them spent their days together happily. Well, years passed, and the white cat grew weak and died of old age. The tiger-striped cat cried 1,000,000 times, and then he died too. Except this time, he didn't come back to life. Tom looked around his office and sighed deeply. Was this the life that he really wanted? He could have gone to art school, but instead he became a Yale man, like his father. Was it all worth it? Was it too late to try it all over again? I knew I'd killed him. You can't doubt that sort of thing when you've seen what I have. Still, I hope I hadn't. Because life sure would be a lot more lonely from now on. A single tear trickles down her pink cheeks. She did this for me. She looks happy. So why have I stopped? Is it the tear? I picked up the key. Done so soon? She asks. I smile and put the key back down. No. Her voice, her laughter is music. I am playing MMORPG. I am fighting boss. I see giant spider on my wall. I run away. I get plunger from after. And plunge spider on wall. Spider is angry. Spider does not die. I hold plunger against wall, trapping spider in plunger prison forever. Okay, this one got me. I see at the far end of a pine table with God. He drinks his coffee black. Fitting, I suppose. Is this really all part of the plan? I said. No, he replies. I've long since given up control. Were we ever really in control? His head shakes. She slumped down to the cold, hard concrete, quietly whimpering, clutching the plastic bag containing the remains of her best friend. If only she could hear his voice once more. Hello, Polly, want a cracker? No, Polly would no longer eat crackers. Because, in an ironic twist of fate, it was his beloved cracker that ended his life. Oh my god, that does got me at the second half there. You really got me going. We always took the same train, same cab, same time. We exchanged many glances and smiles, but I never pulled up the courage to go beyond hello and good morning. Today, she sat across me, wearing an engagement ring in her middle finger. Middle finger? Nani? And it was then, or rather, it was when I looked into the mirror and recognized my reflection that my hands would only know the rifle and never the warm touch of a woman. But I could still that sliver of hope. It was the grandest illusion of all. Every detail had been choreographed, every utterance scripted. If I was not paying attention, even I would think it was real. I finally knew what happiness was. For the first time, I knew that the socially awkward could be happy. A lonely happiness, to be sure, but a happiness that was all mine. Oh, that's good. So it was there and had always been. The slight inclining of a thought. Maybe, just maybe, this isn't everything there is. The window in front of him seemed to frame him, imprison him, and he realized that he hated it. He had always hated it. He would always hate it. He's after me. Everywhere I go, he's one step ahead of me, taunting me, haunting me. Images he conjures keep jaunting me. I twirl around to escape his gaze, his eyes secretly wanting me. The moment comes, I sense him nearer. I raise my arms and smash the mirror. How's that? Now here we have a man crying in an ocean. Lionel Garrison Smith, a man with two first names desperately trying to counter the mundane last. He has no one to appreciate the sorrow falling lost in the grandoise, Grandoise? I sighed and thought to myself, it's hard to be a sexy vampire and have a tan. The girl still could not resist me then. And then I woke up from my dream, disappointed it was not real. Yet again, suddenly I saw my arch nemesis, Bakura the pale but not very muscular werewolf, I threw my pillow at him and it exploded into head crabs. I don't know what I just read. The latch wouldn't click. A rolling moment of panic. Then finally, exhaling resignation. Turning from the door, Anya glanced at the room before sitting, resting hands on lap. Through the window, she saw him coming now, metal gleaming in the sun, coming for her, his hand grasping the latch. Echoes moaned. He dropped to his knees. He scrabbled at the golden butterfly with shaking fingers. Can't we? He pleaded to the world, to himself, to the officials, to the machine. Can't we take it back? Can't we make it alive again? Can't we start over? Can't we? He didn't move. His eyes shut. He waited, shivering. He heard Travis breathe loud in the room. He heard Travis shift his rifle, click the safety catch, and raise the weapon. There was a sound of thunder. The end. Oh, this one's interesting. Nanomachine, son. The nanites didn't care that she loved him, or that he loved her. All they knew was that he was a foreign object trying to invade her body. So they went into overdrive and got rid of him in a most efficient manner. They told me the place was haunted, but I didn't believe them. Then I saw her, the palest white, almost as tall as the ceiling. Then she touched me, actually touched me. It was more than this mouse could take. I went back to my nest in the woods. Okay, that was pretty good. Curious, the mind of a human. Such simple beings in reality. What with being only strands of DNA and pulses of electricity? Humanity itself is the very definition of the word miracle. It is only then we realize just how insignificant we are in the grand scale of the universe. Alright. I think that should end this trial run. Catch you on the next one. Do comment any other Reddit posts I could go through.